What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets-Haver. Not the most fun Super Bowl that we're coming off of, but it was amazing. Brady and all that, and the defense for the Bucs was incredible. I thought that they coached a really good game as well, and they just couldn't protect Mahomes, and nothing you can do. But now we're on to it we're back with a monster basketball slate, and I have to go check in. I'm gonna be doing a 2-week quarantine to visit some family. I've got to pick up my daughter today, so I'm only playing one lineup. But boy, I'll tell you, this is one of those slates I could have gotten pretty heavily involved in because there's a lot of things to do.
Well, that's good because then you can like you said, then you can help me win.
All right, perfect. We'll do that.
So I've this weekend, not surprisingly from my talk, whatever. I didn't play too much of the football showdown. I didn't win at DFS. Basketball was kind of weird. I played one, I would say big line, I guess the biggest one they had yesterday, and I just kind of forgot about it because it looked like it wasn't like generating any fantasy points, and it ended up like min cashing by like an eighth of a point or something. So
I love that. That's the best feeling.
Yeah, and I'm like, really? I'm like, okay, sounds good to me.
Sometimes that's like more fun than like a top 8 or something, It's like,
yeah. No, but it was the big one. I mean, it was the big one too. So it paid for all the little ones, which is always nice.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
All right, so let's get into it. And again, let's hope that the OKC game plays.
Yep.
Or hope it doesn't. Whatever is in the mood. So what's cool is that we have to for Bobby's sake, we want to get him in the right frame of mind so that he could put his one lineup in, right? Because but why do you can you only put in one lineup?
Well, I have to pick her up. I'm supposed to get her.
Oh, okay. So you're going to be in transit when this happens.
I'll be in transit. The truth is, I can treat. I mean, look, there's some of the early plays in the first.
No. I was a little confused. I thought, why? Just because you're in quarantine, you're not going to be able to play because you're going to be in transit. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get started. So Houston, Charlotte. So I do want to make a couple of comments, and we've gone over this before, and it's picked up a little steam in the industry too. But just to let you guys know, I mean, since Harden left, Houston's basically the best defensive team in the NBA. I don't know whether I'm exaggerating by saying that. It's possible, but they're certainly rated one of the top 5 as far as defensive efficiency goes.
In all fairness, a lot of that, Christian Wood being in there versus DeMarcus Cousins takes away a lot of that.
That is very true. But, I just want to throw it out there.
Yep.
So for me,
they play very fast, by the way, too.
Okay.
So even though they play good defense, they still are playing fast enough to get up fantasy points. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
So for me, I think that Cousins and Wall are both extremely cheap. And I think they're total standouts, and I would definitely play them. And again, this is an early look, and I have to update stuff a little later. But I don't think I'm going to get to Oladipo. I don't think I'm going to get to anybody else on Houston. I like Cousins and I like Wall. And then on the a Charlotte side of things, I just hope that I don't want to say hope that I feel as though what I said might mean something. The defensive stuff, because I think that this maybe not at 8,300, but I thought that the Charlotte guys might end up being a little too popular for their own good against Houston, just because of the reputation of Houston being traditionally a great matchup.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on where ownership comes, I guess with OKC with only 8 players, I mean that game's going to be pretty. And there's a couple of other better games. So I guess Charlotte's not going to be all that popular. I don't think I could play LaMelo. I mean, he certainly rates pretty good. I mean, he rates to be a good play at 8,100, maybe 8,300. Maybe I'm being naive. Rozier shot the lights out the other day. I don't like playing Rozier. I just don't. I'll play him if I have to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like playing him. It's kind of hard to deny that Cody Zeller has a cake matchup defensively. I don't mean him defensively. I mean guarding him. I mean, Zeller, for whatever it is, he's very active on the boards. He's pretty quick for his position. And I unless he gets into foul trouble, which is always possible with him, I mean, he's going to have I think he could do whatever he wants here, whatever that means. 6,100 might be a little expensive. And there are probably other good plays at the position, but I did want to bring that out. And that's about it. I guess PJ Washington, my next guy. But for me, it's going to be Wall and Cousins, and I was kind of hoping you'd give me some insight on whether you play LaMelo Ball or anybody else.
So I don't think I'm going to actually get to much of the Charlotte stuff personally. Just it's a big slate, and everybody's priced as if like Washington was out, and I know we don't have Graham, but it's still like I don't quite love anything enough. But I mean Hayward would actually be my favorite. I think Zeller is in trouble in this matchup personally.
Oh, okay.
Both defensively, and he tends to disappear from games, and then he comes on when the guys go out. You know, because he's going to have a hard time guarding Cousins. Now, Cousins doesn't really play defense in transition. You could argue that it benefits Zeller, but I just don't think at 6,100 you could play Zeller on this slate.
Okay.
On the Houston side, I think that. So I'm probably going to try and find a way to fade Cousins because he's.
I remember you saying that the other day. It actually worked out pretty decent. I mean, he was fine, but he didn't like smash.
Unfortunately, I went so far off the board. My rest of my lineups ended up using him a little more than I thought I would.
Oh, okay.
But I just don't think you're asking for a lot in a semi, maybe not capped ceiling minute, but we haven't really seen extended minutes. We saw the 30, which was a lot. And then usually I expect him to pay off 7,100 in a 30 minutes, but there's a lot of other plays on this slate. If he ends up only like 20% owned or 30% owned, then we're talking a different story. Just load him up. But if he's going to end up being like 60, 70% owned, which I think is probably like
I don't think that's going to be the case. You think so? No.
Okay. I mean, who knows with whatever opens up, it's always hard to gauge that stuff. But I mean, he was 78%, I think the other day. I know he's got a little bit more expensive, but I do think he's a standout. So he's obviously a good play. For me, it's just strictly an ownership thing. But maybe if you're different enough elsewhere, you can play him out. That's really all I'm interested in, though, is Wall or Cousins. And I honestly don't think I'm going to end up getting to that much Wall tonight with the other plays, but we'll see as we go along.
Okay. What's next? Washington, Chicago?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So Westbrook and Beal are both really, really good plays on the Washington side. I don't think I'm going to – I will say this. A couple of things you could do also on the Washington side. So Bertans has been really cold, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to keep shooting. Yep. Although it could mean that. But I think he's good. And if here's the deal, like Westbrook could be out, right?
I think he's going to play, but the coach announced that there's a good chance he may be available.
Okay. Because if he were out, then then Nito's 3,000.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of things you could do with this lineup too.
Yeah, I'm presuming them in for now. I'm going to say that I could play either one. Both these guys are just criminally cheap. I mean, honestly, I don't even know which one I like more.
Yeah, I really like the Bertans call. You kind of have to throw out the last game yesterday. They literally just got housed, which has happened to them twice in a row now. And boy, if there's a get right matchup, it feels like it'd be Chicago here. But I like the Bertans call. I don't mind even I wish Avdia was a tiny bit cheaper, but I think he's got room on the minutes projection. Like we've seen him play, way upwards of these minutes, and
Yeah, my minute projection for him is really low. It's got to be higher than this. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It does get tricky because if they do play Bertans a little bit more, but the thing is, you'd think on a back-to-back, especially because the injury earlier on, that maybe Bertans would play less minutes on the back-to-back, which he has so far.
I'm going to tell you who is cheap, right? So all these guys are back, I suppose, right? So maybe you need Westbrook to be out, but I don't know why he's just gotten, I guess, lost in the system, I suppose. But one of these days at 3,100, Troy Brown is going to smash. I don't know where he's going to get his minutes from. I don't know why the minutes completely disappeared.
I don't either, by the way. I think it's a huge mistake they made. Because they're trying to surround all these guys with natural shooters, and they don't need more shot creation. So he doesn't fit in well on this team.
I suppose.
Because even off the bench,
I'm kind of just gazing at the prices. That's all.
Yeah, I agree with you. At some point, it's going to happen when Westbrook's out, obviously. I don't think you can consider it. But yeah, I don't think you can get to it tonight. But I do love this. I will be stacking this game in my only lineup is my plan. And I don't think that's totally off the board, but I think you could do it different ways. I like the idea of adding like you mentioned Bertans. I also don't think that I don't think I'm going to get to Hachimura, but I don't think it's a terrible play. Chicago won't need to go big here, so I'm not going to probably take the shot on Daniel Gafford, but I don't mind maybe trying to take a shot. Like he's athletic in case he gets the minutes if he's starting again. I know he hasn't played much in the previous ones where he started, but he can put up, a good score if there's nobody else. I mean, again, still a long shot thing. The main plays are Levine, Patrick Williams, and Valentine for me. And honestly, like, I'm not going to play Thaddeus Young, but this guy's he's been pretty good, and this is a ceiling matchup. And Kobe White's price is a little higher than I want to pay for him on DK. On FanDuel, he's 5,600, and I like that. But all of these guys are in good shape, but mostly it's going to be Westbrook, Beal, and Levine, Williams, Valentine, with mixing in some of the Bertans and maybe Avdia. I really like this game. Shocker.
All right, so I distinctly wanted you to talk about these guys first because I want to just game log and see why. Yeah, okay. So when I first looked at my projections, I'm like, why is Denzel Valentine projecting through the freaking roof? Right? He's just whatever. So now I'm looking back after you mentioned him too, and I guess it's kind of out of nowhere. How did he get 36 minutes? Oh, because he started. Okay, because Marketing was out and they gave him a starting job, and now he's like, he may have an opportunity to remain in the starter. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
And Marketing and Carter are out.
I just wanted to see where that was coming from. I don't think that, like you talk about, you tell your grandchildren, whatever. I don't think I'm going to be able to tell my grandchildren I played Thaddeus Young at 6,700. I know that some people might be able to tell those stories to their grandchildren. I'd much rather just go to the ATM, take 10 20s out, and find the money for Ayton at 6,900, for example. That's just where I'm at. The other guy that to mention is, I don't know, is again, we've tried this before with only moderate success, but it's worth another shot just because of the matchup. I mean, to play Satoransky against his former team, I suppose.
Yeah, he was good last time too. I mean, he put up 25, and he'll play more minutes in this team.
Yeah, I guess that's fine. Kobe White's getting super cheap
on FanDuel.
On FanDuel.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if this were one lineup, I think that I agree, man. I think it's kind of hard to deny. I mean, it's like, where the usage is coming from. Mm-hmm. It's a high total. It is a small spread, right, with minimal blowout risk. Mm-hmm. And it's a really good game to stack the big pieces from. And do you think that this is the type of thing where you can play like, a Levine plus like Valentine or a Westbrook or Beal plus Bertans or whatever? Or is it enough to go from one from each side? Or
I think you can in this matchup.
Okay.
And I also think that Satoransky's in play. The problem I get to, though, is if I'm going to play Patrick Williams, Valentine, Beal, and Westbrook.
Oh, Patrick Williams. I forgot to mention him.
I don't have any guard spots left if I play Valentine, Levine, Westbrook, and they're all guard eligible only. So I can't play Satoransky in that same lineup. So I'm just saying, like, maybe one thing you could do to get different a little bit is play Satoransky over Valentine. Valentine can get a little bit of handsy. Even in the last game where Valentine played 36 minutes, Satoransky actually outscored him with 31 fantasy points and played 27 minutes himself. So I just think it's
if those guys both play, by the way, Washington, Beal and Westbrook, who do you like more?
Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook, by the way, and we've talked about this before, and I've just made this, observation before. He's got to be like the best fantasy player ever. And when I say that, I don't mean just like in far as points goes. I don't really know the answer to who's got the most points. But the fact, when I say fantasy player, it's because he'll play a game and it looks like he's doing nothing, and he'll have 50 fantasy points.
Yeah.
And that's what's awesome about it. Beal, when Beal scores his 60 fantasy points, you're always like your heads drop because you've seen him make like 100 shots, right?
Yeah.
But Westbrook, he's serious. He's still on the court. He's doing whatever. He's missing every shot he takes, right? And he's still ending up with.
He's actually been shooting a good percentage. Everybody keeps saying that, but he's actually shooting fine lately. He's just not shooting. He honestly just stopped shooting. It's kind of like it got in his head a little bit or something. I mean, he took 9 shots each of the last 2 games. They got blown out in both those games, but he still had 11 rebounds, 9 assists. He's going to get double-digit rebounds every game that's close, basically. He's going to get near double-digit assists every game that's close, basically. And this is a premium matchup, and he's 8,600. They're both awesome plays. I honestly think that they are significantly they're still projected to do well. They should be projected to do even better.
Okay. Here's a stat that I was watching the Westbrook play the other day, and the announcers came up with this one.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 1 dunk this year.
That's weird.
Yeah.
He's done really well finishing in the paint. That's a little strange.
Yeah, 1 dunk.
Yeah. He's hurt, by the way. I mean, there's no question he's hurt. If you want, I mean, I have zero doubt in my mind that he's completely hurt.
But you know, it's funny, those are now they were all over, man. Like it was like a 30-point game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they gave Westbrook some little fourth quarter run down, and he's down 30, literally diving into the stands for the freaking ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
he's never gonna stop. He only knows
that's
one
crazy.
Yeah, he only has one speed.
Yep.
All right. Want to go to the next one?
Yeah.
So by the way, what's tough about this show early today is that it's a little hard to figure out the value situation because, I mean, obviously that's going to be where it comes down to. And there's all this potential value, but it's not really that exciting.
Like what? Like, what do you mean?
I don't mean like extreme, like there's just no extreme obvious value, like cheap plays. There's value for guys who are underpriced, who are more expensive, but there's no real value of cheap plays.
Yeah, I do hope. Now, I also, you know what I think is it would be interesting is if again if they announce like if they keep Westbrook questionable and then like at the very end like say he's going to play, something that you kind of mentioned a couple of times over the last couple of years is that when I say, oh, do you think he'll have a minutes limit? You're like, I wouldn't even know what that looks like Westbrook with a
minutes. But he did earlier in the year have a minutes limit twice. But
he did, and then he closed the game anyway.
Yeah, he'll still close no matter what, but he'll just play they'll close him at 28. But yeah, I mean, if he plays, my guess is that they're playing because they're desperate to try and win games.
Yeah.
So that's the way I would view it. All right, ready to move on?
Yep.
You want to start?
Toronto, Memphis. At least my first look, I was pretty good about going off brand when I did. I think with the Boucher. Let me just like confirm that before I take my victory lap. Yes, it is true. That's right. And I don't see any reason why I wouldn't go back to him again. If you want to know the truth, like I'll play. I think. I mean, honestly, at first look, at this price, I think he's more important to get in than Cousins. That's my first instinct. So I like him a lot. As usual, my same comments about these guards from Toronto as usual. I just can't. I just don't see. I don't want to say don't see the ceiling unless one of them's out. But and then again, I would say that Siakam is probably a slight favorite over the other guys, but none of them really stand out. For me, Boucher is my favorite play, and it might look like chasing, but that's the way I feel. And I don't know if I'm going to get to Morant. I'd love to see him play more than 30 minutes before I commit more money to him, if you want to know the truth. So for me, it looks like Boucher and then a bunch of marginal plays.
Yeah, I just want to point out, okay, you say this every time about Toronto with everybody out. Every game that all these guys play,
somebody does it, right?
Somebody puts up 50 plus, and there's like 58, 68, 83s, 78s, like there's huge scores in here, and it's pretty much every single game. This game should be slow. I expect somebody to have a big game. I probably am not going to be on them. Just because the pricing factor and matchups, I would probably go slight edge with Lowry and Siakam over the other guys.
Yeah. So Lowry as opposed to Van Vliet.
Yeah, it's because I mean the price is a little bit of enough. It's enough of a difference here, and it's not like it's a cake matchup. I mean they like, but Dylan Brooks is a better defender probably at this point than Ja Morant is, and just give a little bit of edge that way. It's pretty close. You know, like you said, you could flip a coin and you could be wrong a lot with these guys. Although we've done pretty well by them. I like Boucher too. I just want to be aware, like they just, you know, the game against Brooklyn when they were short, and it's Brooklyn, that made some sense to me. Yep. And the game against Atlanta when they play multiple bigs, I'm not 100% sure that if Aaron Baines doesn't get in foul trouble or anything that he doesn't not play. That's the only reason why. Otherwise, I do like him. And again, a weird play on the other side, which is a little bit not as exciting, would be Gorgui Dieng.
Yes.
I don't love it, but the minutes are pretty solid. He can easily put up 30 and get a double-double in the minutes that he plays. It's fine. And as is Xavier Tillman. It's just I don't know that I'm gonna end up getting to either of these guys.
Hey, Bobby, I hate to jump back, but only because you're not going to be on the live thing later.
Yeah.
I want to just get your opinion on this.
Yeah.
We didn't really, I mean, we kind of glossed over it. Did you or don't, only because I'm in this little shell here, did you like John Wall? Do you think that he can get those types of minutes, or you don't really prefer him today?
I like him fine. I just think that wouldn't I rather go pay up for a higher ceiling in Lowry?
Okay.
And again, I like Ja too. I mean, I actually think that I know Ja is projected to play less minutes than John Wall, but a lot of these minutes in these games, they've played a ton of blocks. They've blown a lot of people out for a while. And we've seen 34 minutes from him. It's not like we haven't seen that from John Wall. So I actually think the minute ceiling goes in favor of Morant here. And we know how good guards have been against these guys. So definitely worth playing, worth considering Morant and a little more, instead of maybe the Chicago guys, a Morant Lowry lineup or something like that. Okay. Although again, you probably want to play Siak. You probably want to not play too many of these guards because those guards in that Washington game are really, really good.
I agree with that.
Yeah. All right. You ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Minnesota, Dallas.
Luka, Kristaps, and then do we want to not lose money, but do we want to play, the reasonably priced, value here? Like Kleber is very reasonable. Brunson's very reasonable. DFS is very reasonable. J. Rich might not be quite as good, reasonable, but I mean, he's possible value, I suppose. And Minnesota, I don't like anything, honestly. So, I mean, I'll kind of defer to you here, I suppose.
Yeah, I'll take the Mavs to cover the spread here tonight. I know they've been struggling like crazy, but I think that they just smoked the hell out of this team. Yeah. There's probably still things you can do here. Dallas plays a lot of bigs. So one guy who might stand out if other value doesn't open up, or maybe if somebody else ends up sitting for some reason or another, Jaden McDaniels. The minutes are, in the 20, like 28 and 22 the last couple games. He didn't perform very well, but I still like the idea of using him at a cheap price tag. I think he's got upside. I think with everybody healthy, though, for the most part, to stay away. I don't mind if you want to go back to Vanderbilt. We've seen what happens there. You know what I mean? Like it can go either way. So I don't mind him at 4.4 as a wild card play. But that's pretty much it. I don't know. Like Luka's too cheap and is in a great matchup. I don't think I'll play Kristaps tonight. Even though, again, he could put up 50 easily. I just think that I would rather play the other guys at 9K, and Luka probably will put up 55, 60. But I think I've got guys at 9K that can put up 50 plus.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just look at this lineup. Kind of, I deleted some guys. So you have to think of what's more important. Someone like Luka. Well, we'll get to maybe Giannis in a second, but or the combination of Levine and Westbrook, or Levine and Beal, right? I mean, and the first thing I like to do is see if you could just do all three, for example. If you played, I'd use you, Luka, as an example. That means, let's say you thought Giannis was a good stud too. If you play those two guards from Washington and Chicago, and you play another stud, it really does require you to find some pretty deep value, which probably won't exist tonight.
It might. We don't know yet.
It might. But the problem is that, actually, I would say, if Westbrook were out, right, and you played, and then you could go down and need NATO, but then, yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I don't think Luka's the priority. I think the priority, like you said, is to get the 8K, 9K guards in before spending the 11K in a different one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay.
Although I expect Luka to have a huge game. And if for some reason, the thing is though, if Luka really needs to put up the 75, whatever, you would think somebody on Minnesota would do something to make this game close.
Yeah, but who Edwards?
Russell, if he's in, I guess. But again, we have guards, lots of guards.
What's Edwards' price?
50 something.
He had a good game for me the other day.
Yeah, he played well. 61. He's 61. You can't do it.
No.
Yeah, I mean, he played really, really well the other day.
Did he play really well, or did he shoot really well?
Yeah,
Yeah, not bad. No, he was good. 8 rebounds, 4 assists. It's a good game. I like that.
yeah, I know. I mean, I think it's his career high rebounding wise. He's not going to get 8 rebounds, I don't think, in this game. This is not a great rebounding matchup for him. Lots of bigs on the other side. All right, you ready to get on to the next game, which is oddly like is it the second highest total on the slate? I think it is. Yeah.
I wouldn't say oddly at all, man. Golden State's like they're thoroughbreds nowadays.
They are running and gunning, aren't they? Jesus. And by the way, the Spurs seem to be okay with doing that as well. So,
I mean, not for nothing, as they used to say in my part of the country. But the Washington Chicago game is 237 with a 3-point spread. The Golden State San Antonio game is 231 with a 1-point spread. So it's not as if this game is that far off.
right.
Only difference, among other things, is that especially on the one side of the ball, you're not exactly sure. I mean, it's not an incredible concentration of usage. I mean, I do think that DeRozan is the best play, but it's not as if he's going to get like 80% usage like some of these Washington Chicago guys, right? So I guess I'll start with San Antonio. So I already started with that. So DeRozan 7,700 in this type of pace for me is like it's a really, really good play. And then the problem is my next 3 plays, well, we'll get to, are all basically going to be stealing from each other. Right? So I like DeJounte Murray. I like Derek White a little bit, and I like Patty Mills a little bit. So I don't not exactly sure which one to do. The cheap one who's going to come back to get me, I know it, is if I play too much Rudy Gay. He's 4,400. I think he's even less on FanDuel. And I don't know if he's going to be on the court for mid-20s in a high-paced matchup. I think it's going to be hard for him not to pay that off also. So for me, I don't know. I think DeRozan's a nice, solid play. And look, if you're playing more than one lineup, I'd be remiss to not suggest to play Curry with DeRozan. I mean, it's kind of like a similar idea to Westbrook with Levine. Not exactly the same, but pretty damn similar. And I'd like to think that the later game is going to be lower owned. We'll see. I don't want to necessarily play Wiggins, and I don't know if I want to. I don't want to say chase because we've been waiting for Oubre to play better all year, and he finally has. I don't think I'm going to do it though.
Why are his projections so high today?
Yeah. Mine are not that high actually.
Like, I mean, he's projected to score what, 30? You get what I'm guessing you have him in the 32, 33 range.
30.
Okay, even that, like he scored 30 one time in the last 6 games.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, that's not that much.
Yeah, so, but I actually don't like. I actually like him and then it's a good matchup. But I would give him that much. It just.
I'll tell you what I'm not also doing. I'm not going to play Draymond at 6,800.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't know who's back or who's playing or whatever. But maybe we go right back to what's his face to Juan Toscano Anderson. What's wrong with him?
Yeah, I have Toscano Anderson right now.
Okay.
So he's my guy. Like as a moment. I mean, he's playing the minutes. He's pretty active and he doesn't really shoot the ball very much. And when he does, he's been shooting it really well, which I don't know if we can expect. Right now, I've got interest in him just for the price, minutes. Obviously, much more interested if Pascal is in fact out, because it'll secure those minutes even more. Even though I think he's earned himself more of those minutes anyway, so he should be around 30 no matter what. But if you put him at 34, 35, I love him at 4,500. I do think Oubre would be the next logical guy you'd play here, but I don't find myself getting to much of it. And you can never say, I would never say anybody's wrong for playing Curry. I just am going different with my builds today, or my build, I guess. Derek
What
White,
about the San Antonio values and stuff?
Derek White, DeMar DeRozan. I think they're both fine. I like Derek White better. I know they're different, but again, I like White and Murray better than DeRozan, but DeRozan is forward eligible, so it's going to throw me off a little bit.
What about DeRozan isn't exciting to you?
He's, I feel like he's appropriately priced.
Okay.
There's absolutely nothing where it says that they have to run every single thing through him here. There's games where they completely run everything through him, and there's games where they run nothing through him.
Okay.
And with Derek White back, I'm just sort of like, it's just a differentiating ability. I mean, like I like DeRozan. I like him fine. I just don't know that I'm going to end up getting there. And all the other guys are back too. Like, well, you have Gay's back. we don't have a LMA back, so it does make DeRozan seem more tempting. I mean, look, he's on my list. I don't feel great about all these other ones. The one guy who could play his way into some more minutes and has struggled the last few games, but certainly has a ceiling, which we've seen before, and he's a rebounding monster, is Keldon Johnson. So those are sort of the other guys, the non-DeRozan plays, but they're all in play to me. I don't know realistically how much I'm going to get to any of them. I think Derek White's the most realistic for me to get to and use him as my fourth guard, but I still don't know if I'm going to end up making that commitment. I don't feel as great with this game as you think. I do think DeRozan does make a lot of sense just from a position availability situation. Is there anybody in his price range that I guess I haven't really compared him with other people in his price range yet, so maybe he's a better player than I thought he was.
So I'll flex one more off-brand thing that worked for me we got Podol with the ceiling the other day.
Yeah.
This is like the perfect matchup for him to play 4 minutes.
I know.
He's going to take the jump probably.
He'll play at 24 minutes.
Yeah. So I think about this a lot when we talk about like the NBA and matchups and stuff. Whenever you have like a big dude, there's like no size on the other court on the other side. Like on the one hand, you could argue that, it's just not the matchup for him to keep up. On the other hand, he's going to get every rebound, no?
For which one?
Pullman.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's the other side of it. But I mean, if I were them, I would be trying to focus to pound the ball inside. So regardless of who's out there, there's the size on Golden State is really lacking, and I wouldn't put them in a situation where I'm letting Draymond dictate. So I would actually try to keep Podol on the court if I could. At least early on, but I'm coming around more to the DeRozan thing.
It makes your lineups work really well. Like if you want to use those 9K guys, and you're like, oh shit, I'm not going to be able to play a 10K guy or whatever. You can play DeRozan and make it won't feel like a 10K guy, but at least it'll feel like another 9K guy, even though it's not.
Yeah, and he's active enough to where it's not like he needs to shoot the ball well in order to get you there or anything. So yeah, actually, I'm more behind this DeRozan play than maybe I was at first.
And you like White more than DeJounte Murray, you were saying?
Yeah, I just think White is too cheap. White's coming back, and all that stuff. I like the matchup for him a lot. I think the minutes are pretty secure now to be 20. They're going to be 20-32. They paid him a bunch of money in the offseason. I think it could even be higher than the 28 that he's projected for. That I've got projected for. And I think he's going to put up around 30 fantasy points most of the time here.
Okay. I heard from somebody, we at the right game yet. I heard somewhere that Andre Drummond averages I think 747,000 fantasy points against Ayton. I didn't confirm that, but I figured I would just throw that out there. He certainly looks like a reasonable center play today, to say the least. Honestly, it's the usual question. But the thing is that my projection that's making him a good play is based on only 28 minutes, and he's played more than that.
Kind of,
yeah. He's played more than that. So I think he's a very, very strong play. My next favorite guy on Cleveland is is Sexton, I suppose. And on the Phoenix side, I don't know if it was necessarily a ceiling game. I kind of stopped watching it, but I think Devin Booker certainly had a good game, right? He had 47 fantasy points, right?
Yeah.
And he's only 7,400. I will reiterate that. So he's my Ayton's. I think Ayton's better than Thaddeus Young. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't. Maybe you're supposed to just play Drummond. I don't know. Chris Paul. I don't think I'm getting to today. I would rather honestly just play DeRozan. This different position or whatever. And again, we're giving up a guard position to play CP, so I'm not going to play that. And we're also giving up, by the way, we're giving up a guard position to play Booker also.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think I'm playing Booker or Paul.
Okay. What about Kaminsky?
Ayton and Kaminsky are the only guys who I have on my list. I I
Kaminsky's
think
like
there's
20 minutes. He's at 20 minutes now. I mean,
it's just what other value opens up. I ended up using him in my 1500 at the end because I had to make some switches, which he was fine. He put up 20 some odd fantasy points for minimum cost on Fanduel. 4300 feels a little thin. Not going to say I won't have any of it. Just would rather try to get up to Boucher with more of a ceiling. I will say that with Cleveland's propensity to like play so big, if Ayton does get in foul trouble or anything, you could see a lot more than that out of Kaminsky. You could see Kaminsky and Ayton out there together at times. Although with Cam Johnson, I don't know actually though. Without Bridget, without Crowder, you might see more of it. You might see Cam even at the 3 sometimes. So I actually think that Kaminsky is definitely in play. I just think we're probably gonna, I'm guessing, have better value that comes around later. I have more interest in Drummond on FanDuel. It's really hard to play guys with at this price to me with ceilings limits of any kind. I really feel like it is.
you think he's got a limit?
He hasn't played more than 30 minutes. And he played, and even that one, that was like, I was surprised. Like he played like 20 or whatever, 18 in the first half, I think, of that game. And they didn't play him a lot down the stretch when it was a tight game. And then they played him when it was like a kind of a blow. Like, I don't know. They definitely, I mean, look, I don't think that they're at all committed to Andre Drummond right now. And I think there's a chance he plays 20 minutes. I think there's a chance he plays 32 minutes is the highest. And that should make him in play in this matchup. But why not just go to the other side and play Ayton if you're going to, you know, I understand that, you know, Drummond's a better, whatever, fantasy producer, but like 6,900 versus 8,200, there's obviously more ceiling in terms of minutes. Ayton is going to play, you know, 34, 35 minutes if the game's close. Maybe even more. I just don't see that happening with Drummond, and it kind of turns me. But look, I still think like he's still fine. I'm not playing him. It's just because I'm not doing many builds. But he's still fine on DraftKings. I would just rather save it and play it on FanDuel. It was pretty wild at 6,900 that he was 4% owned the other night on FanDuel, and what's his name, Cousins, who was only 1,000 cheaper, was 75% owned, and he just crushed. What's his name? Drummond just crushed. So. Yeah, I mean, you can play Drummond, absolutely. I am not in love with it myself, but on DraftKings, but I totally understand.
Okay, Milwaukee, Denver.
Yep.
So first thing I want to whine. So Saturday, I played the Saturday NBA slate. I played like one lineup on FanDuel. I played the Monster or whatever, and I like playing that because it doesn't get like everybody playing it because it's only like 20K for first or whatever on Saturday. And I basically had the nuts going into the last game because I played actually Peyton at the point guard position. So then what happened was that then Murray was ruled out. I'd already had Lillard, right? So I had Lillard and Peyton. They were already done. And then when Murray got ruled out, like the good news was that, okay, the bad news is that Morris was going to end up being like a really good play. The good news was that now everybody that had a point guard position eligible was going to take him, so I had leverage on them. So what ended up happening was I needed JaMychal Green to basically outscore Monte Morris for like first place, and JaMychal Green choked. So that was I'm anti JaMychal Green right now. Back to reality though. You know, we talked about Luka, we talked about these Washington, Chicago guys.
Hold on 1 second, Sheets. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to pause this for a second. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, we have a little situation happening outside my apartment over here. So sorry to get distracted. Sheets, you were talking about you're off JaMychal Green for Denver.
But that's okay. So back to reality, though. I mean, we have close spread between another 234 between two of the best fantasy players in the world. Giannis on one side, we got we got Jokic on the other side, and why are we not playing them? I guess that's my first question. And then even though I'm pissed at JaMychal Green, he's still 49. JaMychal Green's still 4,900. So I like him. I like Giannis. I like Jokic, and that's it.
Yeah, I like. I don't know how much of them I can actually get to.
Yeah, I got you.
I actually think that somehow like Jokic might even be a better player between the two of them. It's close. Actually, I don't know. It's pretty close. I like both of them, but I don't think I'm going to get to them either. Realistically, I do think Chris Middleton is an interesting like maybe he doesn't have the same ceiling exactly, but he's probably going to hit around 40 here as long as the game's close, and he's 7,500. I don't love it. I think that your best play is hope Michael Porter goes off. That's really what I would probably try and do with this game. I don't love this spot entirely. And even though it's a high total and they're going to play fast, are we getting a better game out of Jokic than we are out of Luka? And who's the best of these three anyway? My opinion is I just am going to avoid all of them, even though I like all of them just fine. I'd rather take a stance and just play the guys who are cheaper, who can get me close enough to the same production on this slate.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right, now we have the big question mark, and great, it's the last game of the night. Sheets, what are we going to do? Because if you use any of the stuff from this game, like it's not like you got other pivots.
Well, the good news is this. All right, so right now they have eight active or 9.
I believe it's 8, but I can double check that real quick.
Who's the 9th? Is Miller out or something?
As Moses Brown hasn't played, has he? Let me see.
I'm not considering him one of the 8. Oh, yeah, no. I have 9 listed. So who's out between Shea, Diallo, Horford, Williams, Baisley, Jackson?
Wait. Why don't we just name who's in? You just named all the players and said who's out. I don't know how to answer that.
I'm naming the players who are in.
Oh, my bad. Okay, sorry about that.
Shea, Diallo, Horford, Williams, Baisley, Jackson, Dort, and Miller.
Right.
I thought that's 9. Oh, that is 8. Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
No problem. That's 8.
So the good news, I don't really like that many. I mean, I like the top guys more. I mean, I like Shea, I like Diallo, and then to some extent Horford. I don't like the other ones as much, at least right now. So maybe I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, I think that they're all fine.
They're not all 3K anymore. You know what I mean?
Right. I hear you.
Darius Miller is.
Darius Miller still is 3K though. Yeah, so I think Kenrich would be my favorite. He and Dort are probably my 2 favorites. Maybe Dort's a slightly better play if you can afford him. You're right. It doesn't feel all that exciting.
I'm not worried too much about it. I mean, honestly, like I'm gonna probably fade. I might end up I'm probably gonna fade the whole game. I mean, honestly,
it's a good idea. I support.
I'm not playing anybody from LA.
Yeah, I do currently have Kenrich in my lineup in my big lineup right now.
Okay, you know what? You know who I'll play in LA? I'll play one of 2 guys in LA. I'll play either Harrell.
Yep.
Or I'll play THT.
Oh, okay.
If I play anybody, I mean, like, I'm not playing any real starters in this game. I'm just not doing
it. Yeah, just keep in mind that his game was with, I believe it was an AD out. He's generally better with Braun out, but anyway, whatever.
Braun will be out.
LeBron will be out
in the second half, right? I mean, like.
But no, we should be playing these guys. We should be playing Schroeder.
Yeah.
Against his old team. Not to mention,
not his old team anymore.
I mean, it is though. That's the team. I mean, what kind of? I mean, whatever. It's a team that he kind of gave up on him. But there's no Anthony with no Anthony Davis. How do we just ignore that?
He's officially out, AD?
I mean, I've got him projected as out right now.
Okay, I right now am projected as in. So I don't know. What do you say? Oh, he is expected to sit out.
Yeah, I think he is.
So then I guess you got to play somebody, right?
Schroeder, Harrell.
Yes.
Harrell versus your boy Boucher though. That's a little bit of a tough one.
Any like really weird funny business in this game, like
THT is interesting.
THT is going to be a big chalk, man, I think.
No, yeah. THT. Boy, this is not.
How about right back to Markieff Morris? No.
No.
Well, we're laughing, but he was 40% in the same spot.
He was 40%. They made it very clear they're not going to play him. I don't care what people owned him at. Oh, okay. Everybody else just speculated wrong.
Why'd they make it clear they weren't going to play him? Because they didn't, you mean?
He hasn't played more than 15 minutes in a game.
Okay.
I mean, he played one. Actually, he played 23 minutes in a game in January, early January.
Okay, if they start him.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to have that choice, you know.
No, definitely not. Okay.
They could start him over Kuzma. I don't know why they would this time, after winning before. But I think Harrell and Schroeder would be the big beneficiaries, along with obviously LeBron. But I don't know if he's going to need that from. What's that?
Yeah, I'll play what's. You know what you could do? I'm telling you, whatever I do, I might end up. I'm gonna probably have some THT.
Yeah, I mean, all of these guys are like fine. Like they're all fine for taking shots on guys. Caruso, KCP, and Horton Tucker.
But what about LeBron in 3/4? That's not enough, right?
Even if it was 4/4, I don't know that this is like the, you know, so we're playing LeBron now over Giannis, Jokic, and.
Well, we're laughing, but remember, LeBron with no AD is a big deal.
Sure, yeah.
Not that big a deal.
No, it is a big deal, but it's a matchup that should be slowed down. They're pretty comfortable favorites. I guess just looking at it from a really simplistic standpoint, outside of the going back to Cleveland game and things like that, LeBron scored over 60 fantasy points, I think 3 or 4 times this season. Giannis, Luka, and Jokic do it more than half the time.
And Levine and Beal and Westbrook, I mean, there'll be points out there.
Yeah, look, LeBron is fine. I just don't think that it's this anywhere near this like clearly the best play. Now you could argue the positions are a little better than some of the other guys because he can play small forward, but I don't see him as being better. I think that my personal point of view, and like somebody could score 100 fantasy points because there's a lot of great plays at the top, but from Curry, James, I love all these guys. I love Curry, James, Giannis, Luka, and Jokic. But I'm not playing many lineups, and even if I was, I think I mostly would be trying to avoid that and take this next tier down of guys I really like. Like we mentioned, even whether you play one of the guys from Toronto to go with the Chicago, Washington stuff, which I really like.
Did you like JaMychal Green? I forgot what you said.
I pretty much never played JaMychal Green at these prices. You guys have been riding him a lot longer than I have, and I like JaMychal Green. I used to be the guy who was like all about him, but he doesn't play more than 24. He'd had the 28-minute game recently, but mostly he just doesn't play enough minutes. And even in his like monster games, like he's put up 34, which is great, but that's this is not like a situation where you'd expect him to thrive. Like, I don't know. Personally, I'm not as interested in it. I think it's a better play if it wasn't a point guard to play Monty Morris. I think raw points wise, I'd rather play Monty Morris than JaMychal Green.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's sort of what I got. And then I do think that Schroeder or Harrell, one of those guys, probably has a decent game. I think that Schroeder is probably the better play, but again, guards just everywhere. And then the one bit of fishiness that I feel like I've got in my lineups currently is I've got this Kenrich Williams business. So what do I do? Is there a way around? I don't think I need to worry about it too much. I mean, well, I think we should find out before the 6:30 game whether that game plays, and then I could switch over to somebody else in the previous game, just because it does worry me with the number of people available.
Well, that makes sense.
But I like going back to the other things. Satoransky, you play Satoransky over Valentine, and I think you're getting creative in that game, make that game a full stack, and then get a little Boucher action like you mentioned. Maybe you want to play Harrell instead. And I think you're in business. I really do. I like all of the guys in that game. I really just think we should attack these spots and like over attack them. Even if there's going to be some chalk in there, just hammer it. If Westbrook is out or if he's on a minute limit, totally different story. You can do whatever you want. But as long as it plays the way it is right now. I mean, actually, if Westbrook's out, you want to play Nato, Beal.
Well,
what's that?
Ish also then.
Maybe Ish as well. Yeah, I think I would still look to try and stack. In fact, I'd probably look to try and stack it even harder. Yeah, I think you're stacking this game either way, in my opinion. That's what I'm going to do.
You wanted to do a Fanduel position thing?
Sure. I'm not playing on Fanduel, but I will be happy to go through it.
I mean, this is like early look, and this is what I kind of like. I'll pull it up for a second. Unfortunately, and I hate when this happens. Hopefully, it changes. But when my two top-rated guys are from the same game.
Mhm.
It's got that draw to me. You know what I mean? Ooh, I should play them together.
Mhm.
So we're gonna see, and it's guys that have a little trepidation of, and that's both guys from the Charlotte game, from LaMelo and Wall.
Mhm.
Those are my top two from the point guard position.
Yes, I'm just grabbing my thing. Yeah. Wow. The pricing over here is a little different. It's going to change some of the builds a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I like Kobe White here. I like Schroeder, honestly. That's who I probably would go with along with White. And John Wall's fine. I don't like the position that much. We could use Satoransky over here for cheap, but I think maybe the John Wall, John Morant range is decent, and then also the Kobe White Schroeder. That's probably what I'll do. If you want to play LaMelo, people can go ahead and do it. I just think I'd rather play the John Wall and John Morant.
Shooting guard is
and Luka. You can definitely play Luka over here a lot easier.
Oh, okay.
It's always easier, but Luka and Steph actually.
So my top two on at shooting guard is one we've talked about at length. Another one you haven't talked about at all. And you've kind of vetoed him a couple of times over the last couple of times I recommend him, and rightfully so. He hasn't really done anything. But so I like Zach LaVine 8,800, and I like just because of the price. I like Dylan Brooks at 4,700.
Yeah, I think Brooks is going to be the chalky guy. He's too cheap.
Oh, you think so? Okay.
I mean, I'd imagine early in the day. You could also play Josh Richardson, who's actually put up better games lately than Dylan Brooks has. I'm getting a ton of messages for some reason. That's very weird. DiVincenzo, I don't love it, but it's just that's the other guy I would think of. And then DeRozan at 81 shouldn't shake you off of him. 77 if you like him over there. Why not 81 over here? And I'm just gonna take a quick look. But it is interesting that as much interest as I had in Beal and Westbrook on DraftKings, I have much less over here on Fanduel. But I do think that Westbrook, I didn't actually, let me double check something. Yeah, I think Westbrook, assuming he plays, is a great play at point guard. I didn't mention that, sorry.
Well, let's put him in instead of one of these other guys. We'll put him in instead of we'll put him instead of LaMelo for now.
Okay.
Small forward for me, it's pay down city as usual. Denzel Valentine 4,400, and then if you want, you can play Rudy Gay at 4K, as I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I'll play one of the Denver guys, either Barton or Porter. I'll play Porter, I guess, with kind of more upside.
Yeah.
I don't need to play. I mean, you could, but I don't need to play DFS at Dorian Finney-Smith at 3,700.
Yeah, I like the idea of striking on Porter soon, because if he's not going to get too owned and project too well tonight, there is a monster ceiling for him here, and I like the idea of playing him with Valentine. I actually think Barton even has enough of a ceiling to play, but you don't want to play obviously Porter and Barton together.
Right.
Middleton's too cheap here. I actually think the upper tier is not so bad. Hayward, this is a good position today. All these guys are fine to me. I don't mind. I already mentioned Kenrich Williams, who I like a little bit, and Kenrich Williams is going to play a ton of minutes, guys. Keldon Johnson, 5,300. There are a lot of good price players, but I think if you're going for upside, you'd play Porter with one of those guys.
All right, power forward. For me,
sneaky Garrett Temple. That's the really off the board small forward that could end up paying off.
For me, power forward, my top two are guys I mentioned before over at DraftKings. Now, Boucher is certainly not as good of a play over here as he is on DraftKings, but I still think he's good.
Mm-hmm.
Giannis is obviously fine. I just don't think I'm going to do it. So for me, it's Porzingis and Boucher. And Porzingis will make me feel better about not playing Luka. We still have some exposure to that offense. So those are my two favorites, Boucher and Porzingis. You want to keep stacking that Chicago more, you could play Patrick Williams at 4,500.
I'm definitely playing Patrick Williams. And then after him, it gets to be kind of a mishmash of sort of the other guys we talked about on the other side. unless you want to go up to Porzingis, Boucher, that's fine. I actually think PJ Washington is probably a better play than Boucher when you get to the price like this. Bertans, who you mentioned on the other side, better for the other side because he's a 3-point shooter. Baisley should play plenty of minutes. But yeah, mostly I think that what I would do is Patrick Williams would be my number one. And then I would probably be looking at filtering in parts of Tillman, Kuzma, Kristaps, and PJ Washington. Oh, and I guess, look, again, I mean, you could just play Giannis when there's plenty of other value elsewhere. This site is very different than DraftKings. Actually, I would be trying to play one or two of these guys at least over here.
So I presume that at center, that Cousins will be 49% owned and Drummond will be 49% owned and everybody else.
Like I said, when you guessed that the other day, and Drummond was 6,900, he was 4.5% owned. I don't know how it happened. I agreed with you. I thought everybody was wrong with the projections, but somehow he did. And yeah, you're mostly right. I think the one pivot off of those two guys, the two obvious plays to me would be Harrell, who is just a little bit cheaper and could put up a similar line to Cousins. But it's pretty grim after those guys to me, right? Unless you
that's really all there is. I mean, I'm not playing Zeller. I'm not playing Harrell. And I would play Harrell before Zeller.
Cousins is going to be 80% owned on Fanduel.
Well, then I'm playing Drummond. I mean, it's ridiculous.
There you go. I love it. That's great. All you have to do, I mean, at that point, Cheats, all you really have to do is you can just outscore him. He doesn't even need to beat him by much because you don't necessarily, it's not like every piece of that extra value is going to get there for you. And that 1K on DraftKings and 1K on Fanduel are very, very different games.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we're pretty good. Sheets, anything else before we get out of here?
No.
All right. I want to say good luck.
You're not going to play on Fanduel? They got a 450 monster over there.
I know. I might have to throw one in as I on the road. All right, guys. For Sheets, I'm Bobby saying good luck to everyone out there, and we'll see you at the top of the leaderboards.
All right. See you later.